Hello everyone, my name is Jack Schuld and I want to present to you today my Capstone project which I created for devCodeCamp, full stack software development coding bootcamp, which I just graduated from about a week ago. But before we dive into my project, I want to tell you guys a bit about me. So I grew up about half an hour outside of Chicago, and if you know anything about that area, it's about an hour south of Milwaukee, where Marquette University is, where I decided to go for undergrad, and I pursued an advertising and marketing degree. Basically, because I feel like I've always had a creative mindset and strategic mindset, where I can get lost in designing whatever it may be, a map in a video game or like a poster. I can get lost design that for hours. So I eventually graduated with a marketing degree, and got a job at Quad Graphics, which I got to work with the software development team on one of the client side apps that Quad develops, and it was really cool. I got to work with software developers and see all the code they were submitting each week as a QA tester, and I think seeing that got me a bit jealous. So I taught myself Python in my free time, and eventually got so comfortable that I decided to take this coding boot camp, and that is basically where I am now. So um, a little bit about the project I created. It took me 10 days, about 10 days. Two of those days were spent on learning and creating, getting the access token for the Spotify API. It was a new thing for me, and it was very challenging, but eventually very rewarding. So that was fun to deal with. The goals of this project, I wanted to make it feel like a real record store, that like you could walk in, someone can help you navigate it, and also it would have a focus on only albums, because that is typically what record stores only have. There may be singles, but for this project I decided just to focus on albums. And then what I use for this project, for my database, I use MySQL, MySQL Workbench. Backend, I use Django, REST framework, and Python. Front end, I used React, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And then APIs, I use the Spotify API. And also, I use the YouTube API, which I will show you why in a bit. So, here is my project. Here is the homepage. So how it is set up, the right side is the music player pinned over here, and the left side is the actual site that you navigate. The player is cool. You can actually and hear the music. And the album I decided to play right away, or put on right away, is Who's Next by The Who. And the reason I did that is actually because it's the first album I ever got. I got it before a Paul McCartney concert, where he played in Wrigley Field in Chicago. He played for like 5 hours straight. It was insane. He was like 70 years old at the time, and I was in fourth grade, I think, and I could barely stand through the whole thing. It was amazing how in shape that man was. But beside the point, we could go back to the project. So I also, you can notice up here in the top, I decided to call it the Record Store Online Av, just because when my friends tell me about new record stores, they'll typically describe it by either its location or street. So I thought this would be a cute little name to give it. And then also I had this script here, which is supposed to look like somebody wrote it down to help you basically navigate. And what it says is, not sure where to start. You can either search by decades above, or you can search in the search bar below. Um, and but before I show off those features, yeah, and that basically just helps you navigate for people who don't know what they're looking for right away. And a final thing is I added this background, which you may notice is a vinyl record itself, which is just supposed to add to the senses, keep you thinking of that as you're listening to the music, kind of, add to the actual record store feel. And I think it's like a monotone enough background that it doesn't clash or anything. So I was pretty proud of that. But yeah, so then we can actually dive into the site. So at the top here, you can see these buttons that have decades. So we can let's go to the 60s. Um, So I selected the 60s, and what you see is a bunch of results of different albums from that time. And what will show is the actual album cover, the title, and then who the album is by. And you can select one of these albums. So we can select the White Album by the Beatles. And when you select it, you'll see that this it gets put on the record player of sorts. It gets taken over. It changes the music player on the side here to the album that you selected, and then it pulls up all these details that you could see. So it will tell you the title name. It will tell you who it's by. It will tell you the release date, rating, number of tracks, and the label producer who produced this. And another thing you may have noticed are these buttons here, which, depending on my database, will tell if you have this a part of your collection or wish list, and will update these buttons accordingly. And because I do own this album, I had it added, so you can see the remove buttons here. If I wanted to add it to my wish list, I could select this, but that doesn't really make sense. So. Okay, and then another thing you may have noticed is the reviews down here. I have this bar that you can leave a review from 0 to 5, and you can notice it's a float to be a bit more, accurate. And I'll say solid. This is a really good album, so we'll submit that review. You submit it, and then you'll notice in the review section, your review will actually show up down here. And if it is your review, this delete button will show up, so you can delete the button by selecting that. Cool. Yeah. And then you may have noticed another thing. The related videos show up too. So this is where the YouTube API actually comes into play. And will basically show you videos of music videos, live performances, reviews, basically to help you explore the album and learn more about it, which is the whole point of the site. So I thought this could be super informative, and I really liked adding this detail. And then finally, we can go back to the home page, and we can search. I'll type in Van, and you'll see albums will show up for Van Halen or Van Morrison. You can see there's Advanced Joy. I'll select one of these, and then that will take over. And the way the search bar basically works is you can search by album, or you can search by song or artist. And then finally, I have this drop down where you can go to your collection or your wish list. And your collection will be a collection of the albums you already have purchased and own, while the wish list will be the albums that you want to own or you want somebody to buy you as a gift. You can easily remove them with the remove button right underneath it. Awesome. Yeah, and that is my website. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I worked hard on it, and it was a lot of fun. I'm really glad how it came out. But obviously, there's always going to be more that I can do. So if you guys have any suggestions, just send them my way, because I am trying to learn as much as I can. So, yeah, once again, thank you, and have a good day.